And like I said today, guys, I'm going to be going over game plans. So, this is a set play hour, so to speak. So, again, like I was saying, uh, basically, I mean, this is something that I've gone through before myself. I mean, going from playing the computer every single day to playing online, you kind of reach a specific point in your in your game that you just can't get past like a certain player, or you can't get past a certain habit, whatever the case is. So this sort of idea, it consolidates all of the problems that you have, and it makes it so that you don't really make that many more mistakes. Everything is much more simplified for you. So it's as simple as writing an equation for yourself and just filling in the blanks, basically. So in my case, when I first started playing Yang, the first thing that I had problems with was just simply guest pairing. That was the main problem that I've always had. When you play the computer like every fucking day when you first start, you kind of get into the habit of like, oh yeah, I can parry everything, like I know what the computer's gonna do. So, when you translate that to actual gameplay, it doesn't really work. So, trying to get to the higher level, with that in mind, you really have to do research for the game in terms of, what your character can do, what your character can't do, what's risky for him and what's not. So, in certain aspects like that, it's all based on the character matchups. So it all leads to your knowledge of the character matchups. So with that in mind, the idea of game plans, it revolves around every character, but you just want to make sure that you keep in mind of the options that your character has. So, for example, with me, my highest level character is obviously Yang, as you all guys know. But my plan, it can vary based on the different types of characters. So for one example, I went over this earlier with the RKF and Gavin, but to make it more simpler, one specific matchup that enforces that game plan is Yang versus Urien. Now, obviously, this can either go back and forth, but the character knowledge and the matchup itself, it revolves around the options that you use. So, for example, standing short is really good in this matchup. Low forward, obviously. Crouching fierce works good in this matchup, and low jab. So these are just little examples of normals that you can use in this matchup. But the entire game plan when it comes to playing against Urien or any other character in general is simply keep the opponent in the corner. So this can revolve around basically. This can range from like either you saying I want to rush my opponent down, to saying, okay, I'm gonna keep him in the corner with these specific normals, and I'm gonna make sure to limit his options in the corner. So it goes to show you that there's very different aspects when it comes to the game plans. So for starters, the way I explained it earlier to those guys was that hold on, give me a second. The way I explained it to those guys was basically, there's two things that I try to focus on in this matchup when it comes to Urien's wake up. It's his launcher, which is the highest damage, basically the one move that can lead to the highest damage for Urien, which is the launcher. And the second one is his best defense against against any type of wake up, which is a headbutt, because it's airborne on the first frame. So when it comes to that, one of the few things that you want to focus on is basically limiting those two options. Well, this is for me, my game plan. So when I first start playing against the Urien player, you want to test them out with grabs first, and that opens up the game plan to many other options. It forces the opponent to either try to guess on wake up and then do a launcher, or a headbutt, to escape the situation altogether. So one idea that comes to mind is, in order to keep the opponent in the corner, rather than just go in and just like, just get in his face and risk the parry and just, do something risky like just pressing buttons for the sake of it, you would be able to, grab once and then stay at this type of distance, max range crouch jab, and you can mash this crouch jab to either beat out the headbutt or stuff out, well, not stuff out a parry, but it will stuff out the crouching fierce if they try to parry and then launch her. So this goes back to the idea of the game plans where you want to keep the opponent in the corner and limit their options. So it goes down to this, and from there it's as simple as just grabbing again and then waiting for the next option and then continuing with it. So at most there is about 3 different options that you want to keep in mind. So for this matchup it would be crouching jab, launcher that beats out the headbutt, and it beats out a crouch tech. Attempt, and max range low forward. Max range low forward, obviously because of EX slashes, and not to mention if they parry it from max range, they don't get a crouching fierce. So that's one of the few things that you would want to keep in mind for your specific characters. Like I said, this all revolves around your game knowledge and your matchup experience. So one of the reasons why I use crouching jab, and not worry about a wake up parry into grab is because I'm outside his grab range right here. If you do it from here, if he headbutts, he can't do anything. And if he tries to parry and then press a button, this will stuff it out. If he tries to parry and then standing fierce, it won't work either. So let's just say I do something like, just press one crouching jab on Urien's wake up, and he tries to either guess or do a headbutt. So you knock him down and then you stay right here and then you do this. And this, this can work with any other twins as well. So you can see I try to headbutt there, but it doesn't work. I try to wake up parry and then grab, it doesn't work. I try to standing fierce, it doesn't work. I try to crouching fierce and it doesn't work. And low forward is the only thing that you can do, but again, this limits the majority of his offensive options and it keeps you safe as the Yang player. So it goes back to what I was saying, that these are the type of options that you would look towards and say, okay, I can use this as a base and then figure out what my opponent's going to do from there. So next situation, as I said, there's about 3 options you want to keep in mind. So one is the crouching jab, and the other is the launcher to beat out a headbutt attempt. So let's just say I try to headbutt on wake up after the crouching roundhouse. That'll beat that out. And this is after you establish the crouching jab too. So when they start doing things like and there's the headbutt. So let's just say they start doing something like, whether it be just blocking or, parrying and then doing low forward, that'll keep you outside of the range. So that's why you establish the grab first, and then you establish the crouching jab again, and then afterwards you can start moving in for another grab, and then bring in that second option of doing the launcher. Now from there, once they start, trying to guess parry in the launcher, that's when you start moving into the max range low forward. So it's things like this that you can do to, just. Oh. So it's things like this that you can do to avoid, whether it be a wake up parry, which would be against the launcher, a down parry, which would be against the low forward, or just simply a headbutt, which would deal with the grabs. So these are the type of things that you want to keep in mind. All three of those options is basically a rock paper scissors in this sense, and that's the way you want to keep it when it comes to your game plan. You want to mix up whether it be 3 specific options or 4 of them, depending on your character and their capabilities. So this can range from different characters. I mean, the most simplest way I can do it was with Yang, but it works with Yun as well. And Ken is the most simplest one. Obviously you have walk up grab, and then depending on your character, you either want to walk up grab again or focus on a cross up, depending on their options. So it all goes down to the idea of knowing 3 specific answers to each of the situations and capitalizing on them by opening up your opponent. So for example, when it comes to Yang versus Hugo, you don't really want to keep him in the corner, but it's you don't really have to in this sense because of the say Embu capabilities. You can just cross up dive kick and get a free combo after that. Well, not necessarily free, but the idea in this matchup would not be keep him in the corner. It would be to get your meter first. So obviously you'd want to play it as if you were playing with an agent, and this would be your game plan. Just getting your meter for this and focusing on max range normals like this, like low forward, low roundhouse. Far fierce works a little bit against the claps, and then crouching fierce as well, and standing forward. So this is the type of game plan you would want to play. You want to keep him outside, make sure you limit his options like that, but then get your meter at the same time. So it all coincides with the whole idea of having a specific game plan. So against other characters, like against Urien, you would keep him in the corner, but versus a character like Hugo, you would focus on the meter. So again, those options like standing forward, max range, crouching roundhouse, jump back, crouching strong, things like that you would want to keep in mind to avoid all of the risky situations. Now another one would be like against Ken, which is a lot more simpler. You just want to keep him in the corner again. But stupid sandy bags. But yeah. So with Ken, he's obviously a lot more versatile, but he has a lot more options. So the idea is, rather than just simply trying to limit his options on wake up, you also want to keep in mind that you want to stay grounded. So you don't really have to do max range low forward. You can mess around with it, but again, you have to first establish one option, which would be like a grab in majority of the cases, and then start figuring out the next option would be against Ken, I would do a low forward slash, light punch slash. The reason being is because the light punch slash can't be punished. So you do that to check them, see if they red parry, see if they block, or see if they just try to escape or something like that. So it revolves around that, and against Ken, you just want to stay grounded in that aspect. So it goes back to that same game plan where you have 3 different options. So there's that. If he tries to jump out, you have launcher, you have jump back fierce, jump back roundhouse, and all these type of things that you guys should be keeping in mind with your specific characters. So it can be as simple as in a Ken mirror, your game plan should be keep Ken in the corner, be careful of his short use, and and try to force the whiff grab, or try to get a hit confirm. You know, so staying up at about this range would be okay, but mainly you would want to be about like right here, because if you end up pressing a button and he does shore you, only one of the hits will hit while the rest will whiff. So basically staying outside standing fierce range would be prime, would be the prime positioning for this. And one of the good things about it is that it plays into your game plan of trying to get that hit confirm. So you know, you get to walk up a little bit, do max range standing strong to go into super. You have low forward from this distance. You can walk out if he tries to press a normal, and then you could roundhouse to whiff punish. You know, this is the basic game plan for Ken in a Ken mirror at least. You know, keep him in the corner, look for the punish, and if there is none, you force it by going for the grab. So again, this all goes back to, you know, your character knowledge and, you know, your game knowledge in terms of the matchups. So what I recommend for everybody is to not memorize, because, you know, you don't really have to memorize certain normals, but you know what's punishable, know what options are safe and what options aren't. And when it comes to having a game plan, always have three or two different backups to your original plan, of whether it be keeping them in the corner, or, you know, getting that rock paper scissors mix up in mid screen, or just simply you know, just keeping them away. I mean, for example, with Remy, you know, his game plan against Hugo would vary compared to Ken. You know, so Remy versus Hugo, you would just want to keep him out. Whereas with Ken, you can kind of have a little bit more leeway with that, and, you know, look for hit confirms with his Super 2. But again, you know, try to get a good idea of what your normals can do, what options you can use them for, and you know, maximize your punishments to basically get your opponent to make mistakes. I mean, you know, it's not every day that you're gonna just play a scrub and, you know, they're gonna make mistakes and you just go through the motions. You know, you're gonna come across a player who knows what he's doing, and this is something that, you know, not many, you know, average level players know this, because, you know, they just go through the motions and they know certain combos. You know, so the best way to, I guess, reach that higher level would be to, you know, get used to your character's normals, know the options, and know how to punish. So keep that in mind the next time you guys play, and you guys will probably see some progress. So I know it was a pretty you know, abstract lesson, but you know, this is something that every player can go through. And if you watch not just my matches, but if you watch high level matches closely, you'll recognize this type of plan. It varies based on the player, but, you know, when it comes to twins or something like that, you know, the higher level players, they will know these options, and they will always interchange it with others. So just make sure you guys keep that in mind, and yeah, keep on practicing.